And they make more money selling the routers, and they didn't need to have to sell it either because they were used to get the orders on the fax machines. Okay? So here we are part of the company where the sales are not interested in selling, and then we said, okay, fine, I mean, maybe we will survive for a year or 2 years and we'll probably leave. But good part of the Cisco at that particular point was a very small company. They gave us every possibilities what you need to have. And in few years, I mean the first year, by the way, that business grew to $100 million. Okay, the switching product which we brought it in. And then we developed the next generation product as a part of Cisco. That first product is Catalyst 5500, and then Catalyst 6500. And then later on, when we left, it was 5500, 6500 product line. Became the revenue per year, run rate of $5 billion. Very, very high margins. You don't see that kind of ride. And actually that particular time frame, we were part of it. We were just focusing on making the transformation from the hubbing business, which is what used to be there for Synaptics, 3Com, Chipcom, and Synaptics, if you heard about some of these companies which were there in the valley. So at that particular time, we were competing with these companies, and the idea was to, and then Cisco definitely acquired a couple of companies because there's not everything which you can do it yourself. So we didn't have this NIH that, okay, we can do everything. We said we have to be very rational in terms of getting into this particular market segment. So we worked on this, and making it sure that all the companies which we acquired, there is definitely a charter for that. In the meantime, the ATM was taking it off. Since I did the ATM before, Cisco asked me, okay, why don't you also do ATM switch? So it's fine. The challenge was the company called Force System, okay, because they were already established in that particular segment of the market. The problem was they were taking away the core business of Cisco because it used to be FTDI, which was getting transformed into the ATM switches. So I said, fine, I took that particular charter, built the team internally, built the ATM product, and definitely we were very proud that in the enterprise, we got all possible combinations wins to make sure that before start going into the service provider space. Okay? And that was a good transformation. I think we were able to make it to preserve the FTDI business, which we used to have using this ATM switches, which we developed internally. In that transformation, we learned that you have to watch out early enough that the technologies which is being used today is not going to last forever. And as a matter of fact, in this whole scenario, you will see it, that technology came and left, came and went away, but the only one survived is Ethernet. But Ethernet, which was developed with that Blue Book spec in 1978, only thing is in common if you read that particular book and what's the Ethernet is today, is the name. Everything changed, including the frame format. It's not the same. The packet size, the CSMA CD, if you guys know all those words which is being used, and there are a lot of people, I'm pretty sure that have deployed those kind of things. And it was interesting to find out is that the technology is not the one from an entrepreneur perspective that you should look at it because it's going to come and go. Thing which is important is what problem are you trying to solve for the customer. Understand that. That's very important because don't get carried away that this is the best technology. I hear a lot of times this and I just feel like we built the best technology in David's system. State of the art. By the way, we were the first one to put the Ethernet on the backplane. Okay? It was supposed to be on the yellow cable. But it didn't succeed. So technology is only the one part of it. On the other hand, you have to remember, if there is a wave going on, don't go against the wave, unless you can create a wave, which is also important, okay? Because then you will find a lot of resistance as a part of this. So until this particular point, I was in Cisco, and we really enjoyed this particular ride because the business grew to $16 billion business for switching for Cisco, with very good margins, okay? Then we thought, okay, it's time to do something different. We left Cisco and started thinking about what to do. Actually, we didn't leave Cisco. We were planning to leave Cisco. Then this idea came that why don't we do this thing, a different model of doing a startup. Instead of doing a start from scratch, let's work together. And actually, the Bug G was part of it. The company was called Indiamo. Andiamo means, it's an Italian word, and it's very interesting, is let's go. Okay? And the idea there was that there was a transition going on again in the industry. SAN was picking it up, the storage area network. Fiber channel was picking it up. Cisco didn't have the entry into that particular segment of the market. There was two companies who were doing very well in that particular time, is Brocade and the other one which became part of the Brocade later on. MacData. Absolutely, MacData. So they were the two companies which is basically have majority of the market share. So the idea was, how do you enter into this one? This is a very interesting story about, we said if you have Me Too product, and even if it's Cisco with a lot of muscles and stuff like that, you're not going to succeed. So we came up with a new concept called storage virtualization. Okay? And that was part of the innovation which we bring it in, and Andiamo was started. The model was that you move from Cisco into this particular company and create an environment where you basically like a startup in that particular sense. We saw a little bit conflict of interest, so Mario, Luca, myself, and Sony. By the way, we are called in the press, if you read it, as MPLS, which stands for Mario, Prem, Luca, and Sony. By the way, it's also a resemblance to the MPLS as a technology which is available too, which is the multi-level switching protocol, which is basically used in the internet today in a very heavy fashion. And that technology, by the way, came out from the ATM. A lot of learning from the ATM went into MPLS to make sure that it's more scalable than the technology which was available at that particular point. Anyway, so during this particular time, we decided that we want to work with this startup, but we don't want any financial reward out of this. Okay? I don't think you're going to find that many people who are going to give up that financial reward, because the company became very successful. And actually, Buck was running as a president, correct, of that particular company. And he really made a big difference as a part of that particular thing, because he was part of the independent, we were on the side of the Cisco side. So we were working together in that particular sense. But there are a lot of concepts and ideas came in, and the idea was also very simple, is that we want to make sure that if Cisco acquired this particular company, it is non-dilutive to shareholders. How do you make that happen? The way you make it happen is that the value Cisco is going to pay for this particular company, okay, make sure that it generates enough revenue that is non-dilutive to the shareholders' value. And we came out with a formula to figure it out what should the value of the company should be based upon the revenue. It's not like technology acquisition. You're acquiring the technology, but at the same time, you pay nothing for acquiring it. Obviously, you pay the expenses, whatever the expenses were for funding it, but you pay only based upon the success. If the revenue is zero, you get zero. Okay? But also they wanted to make sure that there is a cap. So you don't say, okay, The other thing was also you don't artificially create the revenue. There was a lot of rules, basically making it sure that you follow those rules. And again, it was based upon the average of the quarters to calculate the value of the revenue. And then there is a multiplication factor based upon the share value of the Cisco stock. It was very complicated and well thought out, by the way, when we thought about this. And that model became very successful model because the company got acquired and became a good business, and it captured 30% market share in a very short period of time, which was also against the competition, which is difficult to do. So during this particular time, when we decided not to do it, I think Cisco was going through another transitions, and you remember the bubble burst in 2001. This was in the middle of that particular time frame. So John basically asked Mario to become the CDO of the company, which is the Chief Development Officer. Mario asked me to take the responsibility of system architecture for the whole company. So we had now the responsibility of the whole engineering of Cisco during that few years. In the same journey, Mike Volpe and myself became the co-owner of this business called Service Provider Business for Cisco, which was a big challenge because all the service provider companies basically used to tell us, you're an enterprise company, you have enterprise product. And Juniper obviously started at that particular time and was going to have the only focus on the service provider side of the business. It was very interesting. We went through this particular cycle. Our challenges was how to transform this part of the business so people do believe that we are the part of the service provider company. We got the opportunity to introduce one of the product, which is the biggest router or the largest router is called CRS product line. So Mike and myself, we have the responsibility to launch that particular program. And it became very successful after all the efforts which you put it in, because it was 4 years late than it's supposed to be, okay? But we differentiated every aspect of it so that it does not, it really looks like a next generation product, and was designed in such a way that you can go up to 90 terabits of bandwidth. 90 terabits. And this is, I'm talking about 2003, 2004 time frame. Okay? So we ran the service part of business. It was very successful, and we were 2 in a box. That's another thing to learn. 2 in a box is not that easy. I don't know how many of you have worked with somebody as 2 in a box. Because the person who's working for you, he says, who should I talk to? You or him? And how do I know that whatever he tells me, that the other person also knows? So we had to figure it out that we said 2 in a box, we need to be 220%, not 200%. So we made the rules. If any one of us agrees to a certain things, we both agree. Whether I agree or not, that's a different story. But that was very important lessons we learned out of this. And the model was basically adopted from Intel. Intel was doing this for many, many years, and we said, okay, we can try it too. So there's every place 2 in a box. I'll tell you, the only 2 in a box which succeeded is me and Mike. Okay? Because we made a very simple rule, is that let's have a clear understanding, and we communicated to each other just like there is no tomorrow. And that is the secret of this. I'll tell you, the startup secret, most of the times we get problems, is we become silos. People don't talk to each other. Create an environment where you are talking, over-communicating is not a bad idea. Because you don't have documentations, people sometimes don't write things, and everybody's going in their corner and speeding it up, and then finally you find out is the product which comes out is not what exactly you thought about it, because all the pieces don't come together. So this 2 in a box was a great experience for me. But anyway, in 2005, we decided we were going to retire. And honestly, I made an announcement even that I was going to go to Mount Kailash and go around to Mount Kailash. Some of you probably who were there in that particular thing. And that didn't last too long. We were 3 weeks, we were just talking about how successful our career was and blah, 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 in Luca Cafiro's house in Palo Alto, in the back. And he says, look, we are only 56 years old. We have still a couple more years to do something. And that was the time we started this company called Nova System. And the idea was to do something which is different than what Cisco is doing, because if you keep on doing the same thing, what is being done, then there is a lot of conflict of interest. Idea was here to get Cisco into server business. And none of us know anything about server. We never worked on server. We didn't know what the BIOS was. We don't know. Only thing we know, the processor comes from Intel. Operating system comes from Linux or Microsoft. And everybody just put things together. Okay? Nova was a company we started in 2008. And idea was, and the other problem was that we probably will never do Nova if we didn't have the partnership, with Cisco. The reason is we realized there's no way we can go after established players like HP and IBM in that particular segment of the market. Because they have the brand, they have everything. We are not even known, people don't even know. They will ask you, what do you know about server? And obviously we don't. What do you know about application? We don't. Okay. Anyway, we took this particular challenge. And again, I think Cisco funded the company in the same model, which is we had done in the past. We took the Nova, we took 2 years to develop the product. Interesting part was that we developed the product in phases. 2008, Cisco acquired us, and we became part of a BU. They left us independent of all other things which was going on in the company. And today, I'm very proud that that business has grown to $2.5 billion run rate. Okay, in a very short period of time. We left Cisco in 2011. The Nova success, and still there are a lot of people, we make sure that the team is intact, and it's working very well within the company, and there is a lot of opportunity for them. This is not a small market, by the way. The overall server market itself is $50-some billion. Half of it is in the mainframe and P series, and still the Spark stations and high-end servers, and the other half is with the Intel machines. And there is a big transformation was going on even at that particular time, people are going from the standard rack mount servers to the blades. And we took advantage of that particular fact in this particular transformation. Second thing which we took advantage of it, that we integrated the networking piece to the server piece, which was not possible to do by the other companies. Third, we brought the virtualization as a part of it. Fourth, we made it a very scalable network system, which looks like a single system for like 200 servers. Okay, so we brought a lot of innovations. We also added another thing, which is even Intel. Pat Gelsinger was the person who was running the processor division in Intel at that particular time. So we went to him and says, we want to modify the technology, so we wanted to put more memory than what you allow us to do. He said, our engineers have looked at it, all this, and it's not possible to do it. I said, okay, we developed a chip basically. Idea was that the 8 gigabytes of memory, DIMMs, were more expensive than 4 gigabytes. And you guys know this is a transition which is occurring. Someday 16 gigabytes and 32 gigabytes. Interesting part was, we said, we can give you the same memory using the 4 gigabytes versus the 8 gigabytes. And that was a minor differentiation, but was a big from the cost perspective. Because you get more memory, okay? And then you can use again 8 gigabytes into the same slots. We extended the number of memory DIMM slots than what Intel allows you to do from the spec. Okay. That was another innovation which you bring it in. So the point here is that you cannot just do me too product. You have to have differentiation. You have to have basically the innovation, and you have to differentiate and change the game plan. Okay? When we came out with the product, people says, wow. And suddenly we start seeing it that, yes, you can go fight against IBM, you can go fight against HP. Okay? So it's not impossible to do it. But as a standalone, I will not do it because you don't have that muscle and you don't have that power to go after those kind of tasks. You probably would have done something different. So anyway, 2011 came in and we decided that we are going to retire again. Okay? And this time we were very serious. Actually, we said we are not going to even meet. So for 3 weeks, I went to India actually, as a matter of fact, and I'm working on this one program called BITS Connect 2.0, which is really connecting all BITS campuses through video and building classrooms and stuff like that. And Raju, myself, and a bunch of other people who are from BITS here are involved in that one. And that is, again, was something to give it back to the BITS. So it's funded by the alumni and funded by the and funded by the BITS. And it is a joint effort, which is to really showcase this for the Indian market, for the universities, so that we want to make this successful and then have it available to the other universities, including IITs. Because IITs are also silos. Think about this. They should be all communicating with each other. There is a shortage of faculties in India. I think there is no reason not to leverage the faculty which is available in IIT Delhi, in IIT Bombay. And this technology does allow you to make that possible. And not only that, there you can even have the faculty here and teach them there. So there is a tremendous opportunity for doing this particular program. So anyway, I was there to meet a bunch of people and we are doing some fundraising and stuff like that. And so I decided to come back here. And when I come back, I get a call from Luca. He says, let's talk. So fine. So we went to the same house in Palo Alto. It's still the same house, same backyard. And we start talking. He said, look, maybe, we are 60 now. Let's think about something which is, I said, we are not going to do anything different, new. Okay. He says, but there is a transformation going on in the networking side of data center. So we start thinking about it and we got some idea clicks and stuff like that. And here we are today. We started a company in January and it's called NCMA. And I'm pretty sure you read so many stuff about it in the press. Don't believe everything which is written on there. Because we are in a stealth mode, so I cannot talk much about it. Only thing is I can tell you something very interesting occurs when we selected this name. NCMA means all together. Okay? So we have these 4 companies I mentioned to you. Crescendo, forget about David because David was not that successful, but we still learned quite a bit from that. Crescendo, Andiamo, Nova, and now NCMA. If you take those words, these are all Italian words by the way, and you put them together, what comes out is andiamo means let's go. Andiamo, insieme, let's go all together. Nova was new, to a new. Crescendo means a high. Let's go all together to a new high. That definitely motivated us once we figured this out. Okay, this was a pieces of the puzzle, by the way, never thought of. Okay, and we were just thinking about is that, we did this 4 companies. How do you really put this thing together? And it was really amazing that it came out that way. So this is what our charter is at this particular point, to focus on the data center networking piece and see if we can make the impact. I think a couple of things which is important in this is that our main objective is to make the impact in the industry. I think this is what, as an engineer, is what we are driving towards. And we wanted to make sure that we put the best product and best team, and everything is time-based. And again, it's based upon the revenue model, same model which we have done it before. And the reason it's very successful so far, we have seen all the successes. There's no guarantee, by the way, that you are successful before that. There's a guarantee that you will be successful in the future. One thing to do is erase everything. And you go back to the same, like cleaning the floor. Okay, don't assume anything else. If you don't do that, and if you think that, okay, you're satisfied and all that kind of thing, you will not have that energy which you need to have to make this possible. So it's very important to learn from this is that if you're going to do it again and again, okay, make sure that you forget about all the success which you have in the past. Just erase it. Don't even think that you're successful. You have to assume that you haven't seen it. And that's the only way your feet will be on the ground and you will be really able to clean the floor. It's very important and very simple message, but it's very powerful. And you need to make sure that. So I think I will stop it here. This is where we are today. This is 2012. So I told you my journey from, 70s, 60s to all the way here. I hope it was useful. And I can talk forever, but I want to stop it here and give you the opportunity to ask me questions and anything which you have in your mind. Feel free to ask, please.